in France.
Good evening, and thank you for the invitation today. And in Brazil, since more than 3 or 4 days. My name is Salah Hammouri. I'm a former political prisoner in the Israeli jails. I spent around 10 years in the Israeli jails since the age of 16 in 2001 till the age of 2022. I was arrested 6 times, and finally in 2022 I was deported from Palestine, forcibly sent. I am my mother is French, my father is Palestinian. For this reason, I have the French nationality. I was born and raised in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, we have a special status for the Palestinians who are living in or born in Jerusalem, is that we have a permanent residency that's given by the Israelis, a permanent residency which is not a nationality. So each 10 years we are obliged to renew this residency in order to prove that we are still living in Jerusalem. And in 2018, the Israelis made a law that's called the breach of allegiance, that permitted to the Israeli Ministry of Interior to revoke the residency, the residency from the Jerusalemite people. And I was one of these 7 Palestinians who the residency was revoked. And since 2022, I was sent to France, and I have no right to go back to Palestine. Today, I'm here in the invitation to speak about the Palestinian political prisoners. And I think it's not easy today to speak about this issue, especially after 2 years of the ongoing genocide in Gaza, and I can say all over historical Palestine, because the focus is on Gaza, but we are not seeing exactly what's happening also in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, and also with the Palestinian living under the occupation of the territories occupied in 1948. So the issue of Palestinian political prisoners is an issue that it's for us. It's not a new subject. It's a subject also that's also before the occupation of 48, since, as Rula said, I think it's the British occupation or the British mandate, where hundreds of Palestinians were arrested and also executed by the British during their presence in Palestine. So, and after 48, also the Israelis used the prisons as way of controlling Palestinian, used the prisons as a way of the destruction of the Palestinian society, and use it as a way for torture and horrifying Palestinians generations since 48 till now. We have a lake. We have a lack. We have a lack of documentation, I can say, of the period between 48 and 67. Prisons existed, torture existed. Thousands of Palestinians were arrested between the period of 48 till 67, especially the period from 48 to 56, here the period where only military laws were applied on the Palestinian who stayed in Palestine after the 48 occupation. And we know about hundreds of massacres that took place either after the Nakba of 48, and there were thousands of arrests during this period, but unfortunately they were not documented in that period. And after that, the occupation, the next phase of the occupation is 67, and here where more the work of documentation of Palestinians started to be more efficient for Palestinian political prisoners. So with the beginning of the occupation of 67, thousands and thousands of Palestinians were arrested by the Israeli occupation. Hundreds of prisons were existing until now, till today. More than 30 prisons are existing on the historical Palestine. Since after 67, the Israelis tried to not identify the Palestinian political prisoners. So the Palestinian political prisoners were obliged to fight in the prison in order to have their political identity. And this was in the first hunger strike that they launched in 68, to have their proper political identity, and also in order to work to have more rights in the Israeli jails, because they had no rights in the Israeli jails. For example, rights to go out to see to this sun, or to have good food, or to have family visits, and many rights were not given by the Israelis. And I can say that the Palestinian political prisoners, as political prisoners and with the identity of Palestinian political prisoners, started to be sown after 68. But torture and torture was also was accompanied in the Israeli jails since 67 till now. And I can easily say that for Palestinians, there is that we can call before the 7th of October, the condition of detention before the 7th of October, and the condition of detention after the 7th of October. Because what happened after the 7th of October, it's something that we can't also imagine in the Israeli jails. If we are speaking and talking about a genocide out of the Israeli inside Gaza, we can also talk about a silent genocide happening in the Israeli jails after the 7th of October. So I will start the testimony about talking now about the numbers still who are now in the Israeli jails, after all the exchanges that took place since 2 years. Now in the Israeli jails there are around 9,250 political prisoners. Among them, there are 49 women, 350 children. We can find children from the age of 12, 13, 14 till the age of 18. 3,370 administrative detention prisoners, and I'll explain after that what's administrative detention, and also 1,205 illegal combatant, and I also explain what are the illegal combatant. It's important that before going in the details to explain that we are talking about only political prisoners. These are prisoners who either were captured during their resistance against the Israelis in the West Bank or Gaza, or some of hundreds or thousands of them are from the people who were arrested just for their opinions or other reasons, but only for political issues and not criminal or other things. So, because in the Israelis, as I said, in the Israeli jails, we don't mix the political prisoners with other prisoners. So these conditions, the conditions that I will talk about, concern only the Palestinian political prisoners, all the or sometimes you can call them prisoners of war. So after the before the 7th of October, there was torture in the Israeli jails. Torture, especially in the interrogation. It was not generalized, but in special cases there were torture and tough torture in the interrogation. But it wasn't used against all the Palestinians. It was used against some cases that the Israelis decide that they want to use physical torture. But psychological torture was used in general against all Palestinian political prisoners, especially in the first period during the interrogation, where, for example, you can be isolated for 3 months or 4 months in a small room, isolated from the. You don't have the right to visit. You don't have the right to visit your lawyer. You are isolated. You are interrogated for days and days and days. You have no right to sleep. The food that is given to you, it's bad quality and quantity of food. You are interrogated under threats that maybe they will arrest somebody of your family or your father, of your mother or your sister, just for putting pressure on these prisoner in order to have more and more information. This is an example. But after the 7th of October, the Israelis didn't have any red line, so they really did things that we didn't imagine that can happen in the Israeli jails. I think this Zionist regime took off their took off all their masks, and they are really applying with what they wanted to apply since years and years. So since the 7th of October, the Israelis launched arrests against Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza, where they were occupying territories. In the West Bank, around 10,000 Palestinians were arrested since the 7th of October. In Gaza, thousands were arrested, but unfortunately, till now we don't have the exact number of Palestinians arrested from Gaza after the ceasefire and after the 7 exchanges, because during the 2 years of genocide, we had 7 different exchanges between the Israelis and the resistance in Gaza. And either after the ceasefire, hundreds of Palestinians from the West Bank are declared as people that they are people who disappeared, and we don't know exactly if they are alive or not. Although that many of them were seen taken alive from Gaza, but the Israelis till now declare that they don't have them, or they just disappear. So prisoners from the West Bank were put in prisons all over Palestine. The Palestinian arrested from Gaza were in the first period taken to a new prison that's called Sadeteman. Sadeteman, it's a prison. It's an army base near Gaza. This is the first period where all the people from Gaza arrested are put in this prison, and then some of them can be transferred to the prison of Ofer. Ofer is a prison near Ramallah, where 5 special sections for the people of Gaza were open in this prison. So when people were taken from Gaza, all the people arrested after the 7th of October, they didn't have any rights. For example, they didn't have the right to be visited by the lawyer. They didn't have to have the visit, even to know where they were taken to or where they were arrested. The Red Cross, even the Red Cross had no right till now. The Red Cross have no right to access to the Israeli jails or the Israeli interrogation places where they are where they are interrogating the Palestinian. So in Sadate, man, this place where in the beginning where we're listening about torture happening in this place, but then when testimonies started to go out, especially with the Palestinian going out after the exchanges with the Israelis prisoners in Gaza, we started to have these testimonies. So there are ways of torturing Palestinians. I will mention 3 or 4 of them that we have testimonies of people that went out of prison in Gaza. So I will start, for example, of 4 testimonies that were given to a human rights organization in Gaza, uh, speaking about raping prisoners. A woman from Gaza, 40, a mother, 42 years old. She was raped 4 times in 2 days during her interrogation. She was hand and leg cuffed on a table during 48 hours. She was raped 4 times by the people who were doing the interrogation. Another 36 old father give his testimony about being raped by an electrical stick. He was raped by an electrical stick. Another young man of around 18 years old, he was raped by a dog. They made a dog rape this old man, and this is only 3 testimonies that we have, but we can speak easily about hundreds of cases of young children, women, and men raped in the Israeli jails of Sadate Man and other interrogation places that maybe we don't know about them, especially that they are opening secret places of detention, like the new place where are Lebanese and Syrians detained in a special prison in the center of Palestine. Other ways of torture in this Israeli prison that called Sadate Man was uh, taking alive uh, these prisoners one by one, burying them in a coffin under the sand, putting a straw, putting is a straw that goes directly to the mouth in the coffin, and the prisoners can be buried for 2 or 3 days without having water, without even having food. So he can only breathe from this straw. And in this case, hundreds of detainees were buried in this way, in order to put pressure on them, in order not only putting pressure, but also for simple reason to torture them. Another way of torture was, for example, they called it the disco room. The disco room is a small room, isolated room. They were putting prisoners hand and leg cuffed in this room, and they were putting loud music for days and days, just to let these prisoners, يعني يعني he will arrive to a level that he will have a nervous breakdown because he can't sleep and he have this this loud music. And we had this video, this direct video that the Israeli army prosecutor gave to the media weeks ago. That in direct we saw the video that 5 Israeli soldiers were raping a Palestinian prisoner in this video, and unfortunately they went to the court these, and they were released after some days, and now they are free, and they will not be judged, even though they were filmed directly raping these Palestinian prisoners on the top of the prison. So because of this silent genocide in the Israeli jails, officially we have now 98 or 99 Palestinian political prisoners killed in the Israeli jail. A lot of them, their bodies are still taken by the Israelis, and the Israelis even refuse to free their bodies even after their deaths in the Israeli jails. And this is a way of torture even before the 7th of October, because hundreds of Palestinian political prisoners died since '67 in the Israeli jails. And the way of torturing psychologically the families and putting pressure on the families was not to free the body after the death of this prisoner in the Israeli jail. One of the most famous cases is a Palestinian who died in prison in 82, 83. He's from Nablus, and he was taken in front of his comrades from the jail center, and they saw him. Until now, that makes more than 40 years that he disappeared, and his family don't know exactly where did he disappear. So, and we have also the case of our comrade Walid Daqqa. Walid, who spent around 39 years in the Israeli jails, and he died in April, before 1 year and a half in the Israeli jails. And the Israelis still now refuse to liberate his body in order to put pressure on his family. So these 99 prisoners, around 63 of them are from Gaza. The other are from the West Bank. The most of them died because of torture, and other died because of health negligence. Because the Israeli didn't only use the direct torture to torture Palestinians, but there were other ways for torturing these Palestinians. For example, the prisoners were they had no right to have their medicines. Either many of them needed the medicine, so they were prevented from taking the medicine. Most of them, they didn't have the right to see a doctor or to see a dentist for since 2 years and more. I remember a story that was told to me in Egypt by prisoners who went out. I wanted to visit them 3 weeks ago in a prison of Ramon. This is the big prison in the south of Palestine. There was a new arrival prisoners from Hebron, and he had the diabetes. He had the diabetes, extremely aggressive, and he didn't took and for months they didn't give him the treatment for his disease. So once he fell down, and they just called they were hitting on the doors just to call the doctor and to call the guards to see the situation. And the doctor came, and he saw him without his consciousness. And he told them easily, when he die, when the next time you call me is just when he dies. And he died 3 hours after that. They called them. The guard came, and the guard, for the 8 people who were in the room, he just told them, what is important for me is the mattress and the plate in which the prisoner was eating, because I will need them for another prisoners. And he took the mattress and the things for the prisoners, and he kept them, and he kept the prisoner in the room for hours. And then the doctor came and took the prisoners who died 3 or 4 hours before in the so I'm talking about this to see to explain that not only direct torture, uh, other developed many skin diseases, and especially the issue of bugs, because they were prevented from having the the cleaning material. They didn't have the cleaning material, so many skin diseases were developed. And even when they had this skin diseases, they didn't have the right to have the medicine adapted for these diseases. So for that, we saw hundreds of them going out, and in the moment of when they were released, they were directly taken to the hospitals after they were released. Uh, so I two things I didn't explain in details. I spoke about 3,300 Palestinian in administrative detention. I spoke about 3,370 Palestinian in administrative detention. Administrative detention is a law that has been made by the British mandate before the occupation of 48, and then the Israelis applied it on they reapplied it on Palestinians. It's a military order that permits the arrest of a Palestinian for a period between 1 month and till 6 months. This military or this detention is based on a secret file. This secret file is made by this secret file. Neither the prisoner nor his lawyer have the right to access to this file. This secret file stays secret between the Israeli prosecutor and the Israeli military judge. Uh, the problematic of this detention that these periods can be renewed more than 2 or 3 or 4 times. So you can spend 6 and 6 and 6 and 6 months without knowing why are you detained. And this way of detention, the administrative detention, is really used as a way of destroying the life of Palestinians, is a way of destroying the whole Palestinian society in the way how it is used. I can give you an example. For example, there is a comrade that's called Nidal Abu Akir. He's from Deshi camp. Uh, since the beginning of the first Intifada, he was going out, and uh, he was arrested more than once in administrative detention. So he was arrested for 3 or 4 years, and then liberated for 2 or 3 or 4 months, and then rearrested, and then and then got free, and then rearrested. In this way, he spent almost 18 years in administrative detention. And he's not only he's not only this the only case in the West Bank. There are hundreds of cases of Palestinians who spent years and years and years in the Israeli administrative detention. And among these thousands today, there are also children at the age of 15, 16, and administrative detention, and also there are women and, for example, students, especially students from the universities. Hundreds of them are also under the regime of administrative detention. Another thing is also the illegal combatant. The illegal combatant is a new law that the Israelis also developed after 2005, when they went out of Gaza, and they said so, and they went out and they put the siege of Gaza, and they made this new law in order to say that Gaza is freed now, and Gaza is not under occupation, and it have a special law that's called the illegal combatant for the people who will be arrested in the future from Gaza. So under this law, we have 1,205 prisoners, and among them there are also the Lebanese who were arrested after the invasion of Lebanon since 2 years, and since the arrival of the new regime in the 8th of December in Syria, also with the invasions that took place in Syria, many arrests took place among the Syrians, and these Syrian and Lebanese and hundreds of people of Gaza are also people who disappeared. We know that, especially the Lebanese and the Syrians, we know that they are alive, but they have no rights, they have no right to have a visit from the lawyer or the Red Cross, or neither to have or neither to easily to be judged. They are arrested without either to be judged. Another one important issue for me to speak about today in Brazil, that unfortunately in the Israeli jails last year, a children who was also Brazilian, Walid, he was killed in the Israeli jails, and unfortunately Brazil didn't took seriously his case to move against the Israelis and to punish the Israelis for this crime against a child who is half Brazilian. But also there is a case that's called Islam Hamid. Islam Hamid, he's a Brazilian Palestinian prisoner. He is in prison since 20 years now, and unfortunately all Brazilian governments since 20 years till now didn't do the necessary in order to obtain his liberation. So I hope that in the future we can do something together in order to put pressure on the Brazilian diplomacy in order to move to obtain his liberation and the liberation of the other political prisoners. So I'll stop here about this issue, and I'll let you ask the question that you want. Thank you.
Salah, muito obrigada pela fala. Meu nome é Miriam Khalili. Eu acompanho o caso do prisioneiro que faleceu, Nasser Abu Hamid, com a mãe Nasser Abu Hamid. E quando nós conseguimos acessar a ONU, os advogados da família não autorizaram passar informações, porque eles falaram que precisavam de autorização da Autoridade Nacional Palestina. E pelo que eu entendi, Nasser Abu Hamid não estava na lista para ser negociado a libertação, porque dependia de Mahmoud Abbas. Você teve alguma informação sobre esse caso? Nasser morreu com câncer por negligência médica, e o corpo não foi devolvido até hoje à família. Ele está nessa lista desse caso de que a família, o corpo ficou retido e a família luta para ter esse corpo de volta.
Hello, Salah. Welcome to São Paulo. My name is Dani Avelar, and I'm a co-founder of the Shirina Buakle Collective of Journalists Against Genocide. I would like to ask you to comment on the bill that the Israeli Knesset is discussing and passing in order to pass the death penalty for Palestinian political prisoners, and what that would change, since we know that Israel is already assassinating Palestinian political prisoners, but if there's a provision in the Israeli law, how that would affect the situation of Palestinian prisoners. Thank you.
Português. Bueno, yo quiero hablar de dos cosas prácticamente. Una cosa es el caso de nuestro camarada Ahmed Sadat, que es el primer secretario del Frente Popular para la Liberación de Palestina. Él lleva 25 años en cárcel solo por ser miembro del Frente. Y él tiene 72 años. Israel, a lo largo de más de 20 años, negaron de aceptar soltarlo en los intercambios que hicieron con los movimientos de la resistencia palestina. Por ejemplo, al último intercambio, también el nombre de él fue uno de los compañeros que Israel no aceptó soltarlo. Él tiene 72 años. Estoy hablando de eso porque en la última semana él fue trasladado más de una vez de un cárcel para otro. Él fue sujeto a una tortura física muy fuerte prácticamente, hasta que llegó a un momento que hace 3 días, que cuando lo cambiaron de un cárcel para otro, está un sistema también israelita que cada 6 meses ellos lo trasladaron de un cárcel para otro, para que no hace ningún vínculo y relaciones con los demás. Prácticamente fue dejado por 3 horas en la zona fuera ahí en la zona de espera, y casi perdió la conciencia. Este es un caso. Otro caso, y quiero también señalar que en el régimen sionista ellos tienen un cementerio que se llama cementerio de números. Ellos cuando matan a un prisionero se muere, uno de la resistencia se muere, ellos lo cogen su cuerpo y le meten en este cementerio y le dan un número. Hay cuervos que llevan 45 años, 50 años en este cementerio. Y las familiares lo están buscando en todos los lados, pero no lo encuentran. Y los únicos que saben quién el número a quién pertenece son las autoridades de la seguridad israelense. Este es un caso que debe ser perseguido por todas las leyes del mundo, porque está una contra todos los leyes, contra los humanitarios. Uno, está bien, la resistencia, uno se muere, uno se cae mártir, pero por lo menos las familias tienen el derecho a saber, a ver el cuerpo de él, a enterrarlo, a respetar su cuerpo en los últimos momentos. Y muy obrigado, gracias.
Good evening. How does the government of Israel to deal with this torture? Is there legalized torture in the Israeli regime, in the Zionist regime?
Oi, Salah. Meu nome é João Thiago. Eu queria te perguntar como que a gente pode fazer para, de fato, apoiar quem está lá agora, porque a gente fica em dúvida de como que as coisas chegam até lá, como que a gente pode fazer chegar, porque as pessoas estão precisando do mínimo. Então, assim, como é que a gente pode fazer chegar dinheiro para comprar comida? Como é que a gente pode... Principalmente isso, a gente não sabe para quem mandar, como fazer, e fica em dúvida com o que aparece de se está sendo enganado ou não. Então, é isso que eu queria, e eu sinto muito pelo que está acontecendo com o povo palestino e pelo que aconteceu contigo.
So I'll start from the first question about the case of Nasser Abu Hamid. Nasser Abu Hamid, he's one of 5 brothers who were arrested by the Israelis. They are from the camp of Al Hammouri in Ramallah. Their house was destroyed at least 3 times by the Israelis. Nasser died 3 years in the Israeli jails because of his disease, his cancers. 3 of his brothers, or 2, I don't remember, 2 or 3 of his brothers were released in the last exchange, and they were sent to Egypt. They are now in Egypt, and I think one of his brothers is still in the Israeli jails, and the Israelis refused to liberate him. I think Nasser Abu Hamid is one of the well-known cases about this health negligence, because they never gave him the adapted medicine for his disease. Until now, as you said, his family does not know exactly where his body is, or where he is buried by the Israelis. Nasser and others were on the list of demands of the resistance to be liberated, even as bodies, but the Israelis also blocked the liberation of dead Palestinian political prisoners, and they preferred to keep them arrested dead in the place where they are burying them, and they refused to liberate these dozens of dead Palestinian political prisoners. The second issue of the issue of the death penalty, the Israelis on the 3rd of November, the National Security Committee adopted this death penalty against the Palestinian political prisoners. This adoption needed to pass 3 votes in order to become a law. So it passed the first vote, and it had the majority. And I think in the next months, both the second and the third vote will also pass, and it will become a law. If you are asking me, I will say that yes, Israelis are already killing Palestinian political prisoners in a way or other. But when it becomes a law, it will be a mass killing of Palestinian political prisoners. Now we are having maybe 2 or 3, or before the 7th of October, we had 1, 2, or 3 maximum Palestinian political prisoners killed by the Israelis either when they arrested or because of torture. But when this law passes and becomes a law, and the Israelis can use it, I think we will be in front of a scene that hundreds of Palestinian political prisoners each month can be killed by the Israelis. And this penalty is only for, and I know I'm not doing I'm not comparing, but the death penalty is only for Palestinian political prisoners. For example, it's not for Jewish settlers that kills Palestinians in the West Bank, or I don't know where. It's only for, between quotations, they put it in order that it is against Palestinians who killed Israelis on a national background. So they can use this law in order to kill any Palestinian political prisoners in the future. Third thing is the torture legalized in Israel? Yes, I can easily say yes. Torture is legalized in the Israeli system. Before the 7th of October, as I said, it was legalized in a form that the Israeli secret officers ask, for example, the judge that we need to torture X or Y prisoners to have this this important information from them, and always the judge were giving them the right to torture Palestinian political prisoners when they needed to torture them. And the torture is it's against children, women, adults. It's against all the Palestinian political prisoners. And I will talk about a case of a kid right now. But after the 7th of October and still now, the Israelis declared the state of emergency. And under the state of emergency, the Israelis can use what is needed for their security in order to assume their security. So they were using these 2 years in a way to torture all the Palestinians. But even before the 7th of October, it was legalized to. Okay. Yeah, but it's legalized, and they are proud to legalize. I think the Israelis are proud to legalize the physical and psychological torture. And I'll give you a case. I'll give you, for example, a case of Palestinian children that were shooted and arrested at the age of 13. His name is Ahmad Manasra. Ahmad Manasra. He was arrested and shooted in his leg during his arrest in Jerusalem in 2015. He was, and you can see the video on the internet, while he was tortured. He was physically and psychologically tortured by the Israelis. Unfortunately, these children developed psychological diseases after the torture that he passed through. And the Israelis they didn't give him the medicine or the treatment that can help him in the Israeli jails, and in place to give him this treatment, they sent him to the isolation. He was isolated for more than 4 years, and his psychological diseases kept developing and developing and developing. He was released last year by the resistance exchange, but he was in a terrible psychological situation, and either he didn't recognize some of his family members after he was liberated because of this diseases, of this psychological disease that developed after the 4 or 5 years in a special room, isolated, because the system of isolation in the Israeli jails is also a terrible system. We can speak hours and hours about the system of isolation, where hundreds of Palestinian prisoners are today isolated. Our comrade spoke about Ahmad Saadat in the isolation. Ahmad Saadat is the leader of the PFLP. He was arrested in 2006, kidnapped from the of the PA prisons. He was arrested in the PA prisons in 2006, and then kidnapped from the PA prisons to the Israeli prisons. And since he was judged for 30 years of prisons, he was judged for 30 years of prison, and the Israelis refused in all the exchange to liberate him. He and some of the symbols of the Palestinian political prisoners movement, around 6 or 7 of them, were tortured since 2 years. Him, Ahmad Saadat, Marwan al-Barghouti, Abdullah al-Barghouti, and others were tortured in the isolation, and they are still in the isolation. And I think if we if Palestinians and others don't work for their to obtain their liberation, they can be killed in any moment in the Israeli jails. And the last question: what to do and how to do things for Palestine? I think there are many ways of how doing and what doing things for Palestine. I think the most important thing for me is that all of us, we have to develop this strategy, the strategy of how isolating totally the state of the occupier. We have to isolate Israel in all the ways: political way, economic way, arm embargo. We have to, especially here in Brazil, also the Brazilians must stop the cooperation between the companies, between the Israelis and the Brazilian companies, because till now there is this cooperation between Israeli companies and Israeli and Brazilian companies. I think one of the and I think we have this issue of the Palestinian political prisoners. We have the issue of Gaza, of the reconstruction of Gaza, because I think as it was said by Rula, now I think there is no real ceasefire in Gaza. There is no ceasefire now. After the resolution of the Americans in the Security Council, and trying to impose on the Palestinian American forces and international forces in Gaza. I think the Americans and the Israelis and the Occidental world are trying to put a new international law especially for Palestinians and especially for Palestinians in Gaza. I think this is a new way of reoccupying Gaza by international forces, because I think one of the most clear idea that was said in this 2 years of genocide, that the Israelis and the Americans want to get rid of as quick as possible of the most of Palestinians from Gaza, from West Bank, from Jerusalem, and the 48 occupied territories. So they will continue in the strategy to get rid of Palestinians from Palestine. And I think our duty and our resistance and our solidarity movements must be able to see this strategy of Israelis and to work against it.
Acho que a gente pode ir encaminhando para o encerramento. Eu queria agradecer mais uma vez os testemunhos do Salah e todas as informações que ele trouxe para a gente. Meu nome é Badra, eu também atuo no Instituto Palestino de Diplomacia Pública, aqui no Brasil. Como ele estava falando sobre a questão do que a gente pode fazer, além de tudo que o Salah falou, uma das formas de também isolar Israel e também estar atento a quem está se beneficiando dos abusos e, enfim, das violações de direitos humanos infinitas contra os prisioneiros palestinos são as empresas que estão diretamente envolvidas com isso e que abertamente se beneficiam e que dão suporte para o sistema. Então, a Microsoft, a Cisco, a HP, elas têm envolvimento direto nas violações dos direitos dos prisioneiros políticos palestinos. Uma outra questão para que, eu imagino que todo mundo que esteja aqui esteja de alguma forma envolvido com a questão palestina, então é sempre importante a gente reforçar a questão dos prisioneiros políticos palestinos, que é algo que acaba ficando isolado de alguma forma ou de outra, e também a questão dos deportados, né, dos palestinos que são exilados forçadamente do seu território, como aconteceu com Salah. Você levantou a mão, quer falar alguma coisa? Sim, eu vou devolver então a palavra para ele para fazer esse último comentário, mas de forma geral você também perguntou sobre a questão da ajuda humanitária. Eu recomendo acessar o nosso site, DPIPD, thepipd.com, tem a parte em português, ele está traduzido para o português, e lá a gente tem uma seção de organizações que a gente recomenda para que façam o envio de ajuda humanitária, de valores que as pessoas quiserem fazer, que são instituições que a gente confia, que a gente conhece, são pessoas com quem a gente tem contato direto em solo, né? O Instituto é baseado em Ramallah, mas a gente tem as conexões em todo o território da Palestina. Então, fica essa sugestão. No nosso site também tem outras formas de se engajar com a questão palestina. A gente sabe que o boicote é muito importante, como ele falou da questão do isolamento. E aqui, diretamente no Brasil, para a gente é muito importante, são duas coisas muito importantes aqui no Brasil, nesse sentido de isolar Israel. Uma é a questão do petróleo. A gente sabe que o Brasil não envia mais diretamente o petróleo, nosso recurso, para o Estado colonial de Israel, que está praticando há 2 anos um genocídio, há mais de 70 anos uma colonização, mas o Brasil continua enviando indiretamente o nosso petróleo para Israel. Isso foi provado por diversas pesquisas que foram sendo feitas ao longo do último ano. Então, a gente precisa continuar na campanha para que o governo, de fato, corte absolutamente toda a exportação. Isso é uma obrigação legal, não é um favor que o governo faria ao povo palestino, é uma obrigação legal. E a outra seria, que também é uma obrigação legal, é a suspensão do acordo de livre comércio Mercosul com Israel. O Brasil tem, sim, todo o suporte jurídico para, pelo menos, sair e suspender o acordo com o Estado colonial e genocida de Israel. If I'm not forgetting anything about what we mentioned, eu vou... Our events, ok. Então, acabaram de surgir 3 perguntas, olha que beleza. Vou devolver, então, a palavra para vocês e eu faço a tradução, porque a gente já abusou um pouquinho aqui das nossas queridas tradutoras, então eu vou só agradecer a Isabel e a Juliana que acompanharam a gente fazendo a tradução, e aí eu fico agora, meninas, aqui fazendo a tradução para o Salah.
Salah, como você conseguiu vencer o medo? Da onde surge essa energia dos prisioneiros e a tua energia para vencer o medo diante de tanta brutalidade?
Para mim, não é uma pergunta, é um chamado. Esse sábado, a Frente Palestina está chamando às 14 horas, no MASP, uma manifestação que vai sair do MASP, vai até a Praça Roosevelt. Já faz uns 5 atos que está muito esvaziado. Eu peço para todo mundo chamar, acompanhar as publicações da Frente Palestina de São Paulo, chamar todos os amigos e com cartazes justamente para o Lula romper relações com Israel. Obrigada.
Boa noite, Salah. Eu gostaria de saber sua opinião sobre as questões de um Estado ou de 2 Estados, porque eu não sou palestina, mas eu acho que eu, particularmente, eu sempre defendi um só Estado, militei por isso, mas hoje eu acho que eu não conseguiria viver na Palestina do lado de um sionista. E quando eu escuto relatos como o seu, mais ainda. Então, eu queria a sua opinião, queria saber também do Instituto, o que vocês acham. A segunda questão me parece que nós precisamos estabelecer uma rede jurídica muito forte, uma rede internacional jurídica. Porque a militância não pode, combatente, não pode ser isolada nos países. Existe alguma coisa nesse sentido? Existe alguma coisa sendo feita? Como é que eu sou advogada e gostaria de doar meu tempo livre para isso? Como é que a gente pode fazer?
So about the issue of from where do we get strength in the Israeli Jews and how we can go more more convinced in our resistance and our resistance after the years in the Israeli Jews. I think one of the important issues that I say the majority of the Palestinian political prisoners knew that the goal of their imprisonment is to destroy totally their mental health and to destroy their approach toward to Palestine and to destroy their psychology. So one of these ways that we were doing in the Israeli jails, that we were resisting also in the Israeli jails. We had this solidarity between prisoners inside the jails. We have ways of resisting inside the jails, many ways of resisting, although many of us participated in hunger strikes. Also, we had a very well organized life in the Israeli jails. This organized life in the Israeli jail gave us the chance to develop our persons' political visions, and to develop our political strategies either in the Israeli jail. This was before the 7th of October. Now the situation is harder, but in prison we were taught by the former prisoners and by others how to become a real resistant in the Israeli jails, and even though when going out of the Israeli prisons for this. Also, you can see many Palestinian political leaders in the past and now are people who came out from the Israeli jails. The second thing is about stealing the organs. Look, to be clear on this issue, I don't have enough information to speak about this issue. The Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitte spoke in an interview about the bodies who were given back to Gaza, and doctors gave their testimony that many of them, their organs were stolen during their imprisonment in the Israeli jails. But me, I didn't face directly a case of stolen organs by Israelis. So I'm not the specialist that I can give my testimony about this issue, but I can refer you to the interview given by Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitte, I think 2 weeks before 2 weeks, speaking about this issue. The one state or two state solution. This is the issue that we keep as Palestinians being asked about. So before speaking about one state solution or two state solution, for me as Palestinian, we have our historical rights. Any political solution that doesn't give us our historical rights, for me, it's not for me, it's not a real solution. The Palestinians, some of the Palestinians, I don't want to say all the Palestinians, some of the PLO leaders tried the way of negotiating with the Israelis in Oslo Accords in 93, 90, 92, 93, 90, 94, and we saw the catastrophic results of this negotiation that we are living till now. I think for me the solution that doesn't give the Palestinian all the rights, including their whole land, for me is not a solution. And if we are speaking of a one state solution, for me, one state solution can be a solution, but in one condition, that it will be without Zionism. For us, Zionism is a racist, supremacist ideology that we cannot live with. She's only this theory just wants to get rid of Palestinians. So I think the most important also issue for us right now is to build our resistance, to build this resistance that can confront the Israeli Zionist project. But talking now about a solution right now, I don't think we will have a solution right now. Now I think it's our duty now to see how can we organize as Palestinians in the diaspora and Palestinians in the occupied territories our resistance also with the solidarity movement in a strategical way that we get rid of Zionism from Palestine, and then we can talk about the solution. Thank you.
Obrigada. A gente vai, enfim, para não abusar muito do tempo aqui, eu queria agradecer mais uma vez também a Tapera por conta do espaço cedido. A gente pode continuar nossa conversa aqui, mas eu também, por conta do tempo, a gente vai encaminhando. E por último, eu só queria repassar, a gente tem uma agenda uma semana cheia de eventos aqui com o Salah. Amanhã e na quarta de manhã, amanhã à noite, na quarta de manhã, a gente vai estar em Campinas, com ele abordando novamente a questão dos prisioneiros políticos palestinos. Na quarta-feira mesmo, à noite, às 19 horas, a gente vai estar na Lesp, numa aula pública também que o Salah vai dar lá, vai ser um espaço muito importante, então a gente conta com a presença de todo mundo. Nesse mesmo dia, para vocês entenderem a importância dessa data, o Naftali Bennett, um político sionista israelense, vai estar presente aqui no Rio a convite do pessoal da Hebraica, dos sionistas, eles vão estar num outro espaço, então é muito importante que a gente dê um coro e escute os testemunhos do Salah ali na Lesp e dê esse suporte. E também para a gente caminhe, né, com uma rede de advogados, como você mencionou, internacional, que já existe, que tem sido construída aqui no Brasil também, para que a gente possa impedir que criminosos de guerra e que sionistas entrem no nosso país com tanta tranquilidade, assim como os soldados que são criminosos e que participaram ativamente do genocídio, inclusive se filmando, entram e vêm passar férias aqui com tanta tranquilidade. E, além disso, na sexta-feira, e no domingo, a gente vai ter um evento de lançamento de uma ferramenta que foi construída pelo PIPD e algumas outras organizações ao longo de 4 anos, chamada Comunicando a Palestina. Ele é um guia prático em português, de fácil acesso, é um site que vai ser facilmente encontrado, chamado comunicandopalestina.org, onde vocês encontram todas as formas de responder às falácias criadas pelo sionismo. Então, todas aquelas mentiras da Hasbara, né, a propaganda de Israel, criadas sobre os palestinos ao longo desses mais de 100 anos de colonização, tudo que eles inventaram para justificar a colonização, o genocídio e a limpeza étnica da Palestina, está destrinchado nesse site, como identificar essas falácias e como responder a elas. Então, é uma ferramenta muito importante. A gente vai lançar, primeiramente, na Câmara de Comércio Árabe Brasileira, na sexta-feira, às 19 horas. Isso tudo está sendo divulgado nas redes sociais, principalmente da editora Tabla, então vocês podem encontrar lá com mais facilidade. Vai ser um evento, um painel com Arula e com o Milton Hatum. Então, o nosso querido Milton vai estar presente também nesse evento lá na Câmara de Comércio Árabe Brasileira. E no domingo a gente vai ter um evento no Galpão do MST, também lançando essa ferramenta. Vai ser um dia inteiro de festival que vai ser divulgado. Amanhã vai sair nas redes do MST e vocês podem acompanhar melhor por lá também. Então, fica o convite para toda essa agenda que a gente vai ter essa semana e queria agradecer pela presença de todos vocês aqui. A gente sabe que segunda-feira é um dia difícil, mas foi muito importante ter vocês aqui para escutar os testemunhos do Salah. Obrigada.